be angry and sin not. It's okay to get angry, but he said, don't let that anger get in your spirit. Don't let that anger turn you into somebody that destroys every relationship because you couldn't get over what somebody did to you, and it bleeds over into every other relationship. He said, be angry and sin not, and then he tells you how to do it. He says, here's how you do that. Let not the sun go down on your wrath, lest you give place to the devil. That word place there is foothold in the Greek. That literally when you get angry and you don't deal with it quickly, but you let it just get into your spirit, and anger becomes part of how you feel all the time. It's part of, oh, you can't stand that person. What happens is, the Bible said it's dangerous because it gives place to the devil. And the word place is foothold, that literally you have just opened the door by not allowing that to come out of you, and the devil puts his foot in the door. And he says to every demon, go in and tear this house all to pieces, because they will not forgive one another. We have our foot in the door. Come on in and do your work. I never will forget Brother Tenney telling me one time when we were talking about a missionary and his movement and his denomination. And he said, this man is a legend. He's a godly old man of God. And he had established hundreds and hundreds of churches on the mission field. And he had faced almost everything you can imagine. And he was in somewhere in Central America in the jungle, deep jungle. And they did not know English, of course, nor did they even know Spanish. They had their own dialect and everything in this particular area. And so he comes into this area, this veteran missionary, mighty man of God. And as he's preaching and building a church, the first church in that area, and reaching that new people with the gospel, they brought to him a girl who was completely demon-possessed, a woman who was completely demon-possessed. It took 3 or 4 men to just control her. They said they literally put her in chains because she was so violent and so self-destructing to herself. And so when they brought her, he said, this man told Pastor Tenney or Bishop Tenney, and he told me this story, and this is what he said. He said, the demons cried out in perfect English through that native woman, don't teach the people to forgive. Don't teach the people to forgive. Isn't it something that out of all of the things demons fear, the one thing that they dreaded the most is if that preacher would stand up and tell the people, you must forgive your enemies. And if you will do it, you will break Satan's control and Satan's power off of your family, off of your marriage, off of your future. That's important. Off of your future when you release that forgiveness and that bitterness. When Jesus hung on the cross and said, Father, forgive them. In that moment, Satan, the prince, the power of the air, he controlled creation. He controlled the atmosphere. He controlled all kinds of things. He's the prince, the power of the air. That's a Bible verse in the book of Ephesians. But in that moment, he lost all control. I can prove it. Because when Jesus said, forgive them, instantly the Bible said for 3 hours, the sun refused to shine. He wasn't over the sun anymore. And suddenly the ground began to shake. And suddenly death had to give up some dead folks. And the Bible said that they walked around Jerusalem. Dead people were raised from the dead when Jesus said, it is finished. And when he said, Father, forgive them, it released such power that even hell knew they were not in control. The devil knew, I have lost control and I have lost my power. I need somebody to shout right there. Satan couldn't control the air. He couldn't control the sun. He couldn't control the earth. He couldn't control hell. He couldn't control death. In the presence of forgiveness, Do you want Satan to lose control of your home, of your family, of your marriage? All you have to do is release forgiveness, and Satan's foot gets removed, and suddenly the door shuts on his face, and his demons have to leave. And I don't know, you can't worry about whether they forgive you or not. All you can do is say, I forgive you, and I'm gonna walk in love, and I'm putting the overcoat of love on, and it covers a multitude of sins, and I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. It's done in Jesus' name. Somebody give God praise. Do you want Satan to lose control? Forgive. In Joshua chapter 10, there are 5 kings who Joshua has defeated, and they run to a cave and they hide in the cave. And that's what happens when we get offended and we get hurt and we get a little bitter and we get angry. We isolate ourselves. We cave in. We isolate ourselves. I'm hurt. I'm cutting them off. I don't want to be around ever again. Leave me alone. And I'm not saying there's some people. Peter said, Lord, how many times do I have to forgive these people? I like it. He wanted a mathematical equation. He said, give me a number. He said, I say 7. What do you say? 7 times, and then can I let them have it? And Jesus said, okay, you want a mathematical 70 times 7. He said, a day. 70 times 7 is 490 times a day. A day. That's how many times you have to forgive. Jesus was saying, forgiveness is losing count. Forgiveness is when it doesn't matter anymore. I choose to love you, and nothing you can do or say can make me not love you. I'm going to keep on loving you. I may not like your stuff, and I may not be a part of it, and I probably won't do, help you with your little stuff. But I tell you what, you'll never do anything that can make me. If you've got a son or a daughter that is gay, don't you dare tell them that they can never speak to you again, never come around you again. Don't do that. That's not right. That's not right. Love never fails. You love them. You love them. You love them. You love, but Pastor, God never called you to judge anybody. You are called to love them. You let God be the judge. You love people. Yet people are messed up. If your father was not there and he was an awful father and he left your mother and you and your siblings, I'm simply telling you, put the overcoat of love on and do the best you can with it. I know it's complicated. I know it's hard, but keep your heart open. Don't keep them in a prison in your heart, but open up because here's why. Because once they got in the cave, when they didn't get over it quick, they had time to get in the cave, relax, get over it, pull yourself together, guys, and get out of here. But their enemy heard that they were in the cave and had been there a long time. And then he rode up and he told his soldiers, roll the stone in front of the cave. And suddenly it went from an isolation to a prison. Suddenly now you can't get out because you've given so much room to bitterness. Satan's had the foot on in the door so long that now it's become a prison and he can't get out because we can't get out. And then finally he came back and he killed them and threw their bodies in there, and it became a grave. It went from a cave of isolation, because that's what we do. I'm never going to speak to you again. And it goes from isolation to prison. Because when you forgive somebody, they may laugh at you. They may spit at you. They may cuss you. But you're releasing yourself. You're opening the prison door for yourself. It went from isolation to prison and from a cave to a grave. I'm so glad that Christianity has a leader. that they wounded him for our transgressions and bruised him for our iniquities. He was prosecuted, he was persecuted, he was tormented, he was beaten, he was slaughtered on a cross for something he did not do. And they threw him in the cave, they threw his body in the cave. But on the third day, he said, I am not staying in this cave of offense, this cave of anger, this cave of wrath. I'm coming out. And I'm saying, by my wounds, you are healed. I have the power to put on the overcoat of love and get over it.